week on Boy Party, we're discussing my friend Edward Norton and the great Robin Williams co-starring in Danny DeVito's black comedy Death To Smoochy. Welcome to the show. Looky, here comes the cookie, fresh and organic, no need to panic, straight from the soil, no tropical oil, sweetened with the juice for an energy boy party. Welcome everybody to the podcast. This week we are discussing another movie where two major stars share the screen and battle it out for screen time, top billing, the fatter paycheck, and the most acclaim. My name is Lucien Daly, and I am joined this week by the new stupid rhino entertainer. He's coming to take my job at the kids' TV show, but I'm going to get revenge with phallic cookies snuck onto set. It's Shane.
Hey, everybody.
Hey. Gather round.
I got some sweeties.
Welcome to Boy Party.
Yes.
This week we were discussing Danny DeVito's movie Death To Smoochy, a movie that I feel like is probably more, I don't know, very early 2000s in the sense of like it's kind of pre-meme culture, right? Like the title and the poster are very like early 2000s pre-internet idea of like twisted humor. And the whole idea of like, whoa, now Danny DeVito is much smarter than this fake person I'm about to do an impression of. But like, whoa, wouldn't it be so fucked up to make like a movie about a kids TV host who goes nuts and tries to kill someone, you know?
Yeah.
Like real like puerile idea of like dark humor. But Danny DeVito, I don't think is coming at it from that angle. Now, years later, the TV show Kidding gets made with Jim Carrey, with Catherine Keener playing the exact same part she plays in this movie, except 20 years later. Yeah. And that show is the shit version of this, where it's like, whoa, guys, what if Mr. Rogers was crazy and like had mental health problems? And it's like that show is playing with Jim Carrey's public persona as a sort of a depressive in the last 10 years, but trying to also do the Charlie Kaufman thing, but only half-assing it, and like in a kind of a, you know, Mr. Rogers but depressed way. And that show is not funny, and it's not poignant, and it's kind of just nothing. It does feature that line that I always quote. It's not, her phone's not broken, she just doesn't like you, or whatever, which is Judy Greer says to him, which I do like. Yeah. But this movie is like actually quite funny and clever and high energy, and I think succeeds at a lot of that sort of like the dark, fucked up side of kids TV, because it doesn't feel like it's trying too hard to you know, show teenagers a side of things they haven't seen. I think this is just like a comedy made for adults, and it's not too worried about that. It fits in more of like the Meet the Parents kind of category of kind of crass comedy that's like pushing and pushing and pushing. With, as I cited a minute ago, a little bit of Tom Green, Freddy Got Fingered kind of energy, because Edward Norton kind of turns into Tom Green when he's doing a little bit. Like, is
this doing the same thing where it's relying on kind of the absurdity of Edward Norton just off American History X?
Yes.
It's now dressed as the big pink rhino.
Yes, I think so. I think a big selling point of this is Robin Williams fucked up kids entertainer. Like, this is a role he should be playing. Yeah, because Robin Williams spent his whole career towing that line between I am beloved kids star and I'm really fucking creepy when I try to be. And this is right in the middle of his creepy era, where he's done 1 Hour Photo, he's done Insomnia, he does this. And I think this is like right down the middle between the character that he played in Toys a few years earlier, who is like an innocent little man with a bowler hat who lives in Toy World, and I'm a creepy fucker who like takes pictures of your kids and fucking, you know, obsesses over your family. And this character is like the, you know, serial killer version of the Toys character. And then, as you're saying, Edward Norton has just played neo-Nazi, he's been in Fight Club, and now he's playing you know, the fucking rhino man who gets framed as a neo-Nazi. But it is a fun subversive thing with both of their personas at that point, even though Edward Norton is only like 5 or 6 years into his Hollywood career at this point. But we'll get into him in a little bit. This is a real, like, Shane had never heard of this movie until I put it on, so I'm interested in like what your experiences of films like that, like what
What are the comparisons for this? Like, what are you asking me?
The closest movie we've done to this is probably Burt Wonderstone, right? Where I put on a movie that you've never heard of, that has like 4 stars in it that are really famous, and like,
but it was just so
it's just a comedy of its time,
yeah,
that is not remembered because DVD rental stores don't exist anymore.
Sure.
And it's like, if I put on one of these movies and you've never heard of it, how long does it take to convince you that it's worth doing on the podcast or worth watching?
This got me in pretty instantly.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it was good. It had lots of like fun elements of stuff I like recently, like John Mulaney and the Sack Lunch Bunch.
Yes,
and
true.
Of
good
course,
reference,
Mr. Music.
Of course, yes, good
music
point.
here,
Yes,
music there.
just like absurdist children's entertainment.
Yeah,
that goes off the rails.
Exactly, and done by a guy who like wouldn't normally be doing it.
Yes,
but the thing is, when you get these serious actors in doing kind of when you get them to commit to doing these comedic roles, they go at it.
Yes,
like he's
exactly.
There's no real like maybe after the fact. Watching this back, maybe felt, but I don't feel like there's any shame in this performance.
No, I don't think so. I think he really goes for it.
I think he really goes for it. I think that's testament to Danny DeVito and probably his script.
Yes.
And like
Danny DeVito is exactly the kind of filmmaker, if you're Edward Norton, that you would trust to
make a good comedy.
So Edward Norton, when I was with him on Saturday.
Oh, sorry. You were with Edward Norton?
Did I mention that I was with Edward Norton on Saturday?
Sorry, did you sign an NDA not to talk about this until Tuesday?
This episode is released on Tuesday.
It's okay.
So when I was with Edward Norton on Saturday, in a room with 200 other people, at this stage that I'm about to reference, Eddie, as you know, Big E, told a story about how if you have what every director wants is the actors will commit to their suggestions so wholeheartedly that if their suggestions are bad, it will be immediately obvious.
Yeah.
He said that Jeremy Irons was known to be very good for this, where he would, if the director suggested something really stupid for him to do, he would just do the biggest, most committed version of that stupid thing he could, and the director would immediately be able to go, well, that was fucking terrible. We're going back to the script. And he was talking about this in the context of making Birdman. I always say Birdman like Bergman. Birdman with Inarritu and with Michael Keaton, where they were doing the big scene where the two of them are rehearsing the play across the table, which I think is the best scene that Edward Norton's ever been in. And it's amazing. And we showed it at our event, and it played really well in the room, and everyone cheered. And he was basically saying that him and Keaton did the scene. Inarritu was like, I hated it. Do it the complete other way. I want everything reversed that you just did. They did it reversed like he asked. Inarritu goes away, comes back, and goes, "Fuck it, never mind. The original way was fantastic," and that's what included in the film. So
the way that was included, is it a bit more over the top? Is it a bit more expressive?
I think it's just, I don't know, but it's whatever the way that Norton's character is doing one thing and Keaton's character is doing another.
Yeah.
And they reversed that energy in the second version.
Right.
But what Norton was saying, Big E was saying, is that he believes very strongly in this idea of don't try and convince the director that their idea is bad. Just do what they've asked,
and they'll
figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
They need to be proven that something's bad. So I would say when he's working with someone like Danny DeVito, who you, as any actor, would be like, well, Danny DeVito is hilarious. He is a great comedic actor and a comedic writer. I'm going to trust him fully to do to make good comedy decisions here. So, like, if you're Edward Norton and you're kind of self-conscious maybe about the fact you haven't done a straight comedy before, you're probably very willing to just be like, Danny DeVito, go off and just see what happens.
Yeah.
And I think this film does demonstrate a complete, like, just throwing yourself into whatever DeVito had in mind. And it's great. And I'm interested in whether there was other people considered for this role, because I think he's so perfect for it. I'm having a look here at the casting for the film. Doesn't really seem like it. Edward Norton was the first person. So Danny DeVito didn't write this, though. Okay. This was written by Adam Resnick, and Adam Resnick was a guy from David Letterman, SNL, Larry Sanders Show, and he wrote the film Cabin Boy with Chris Elliott, and then he wrote Lucky Numbers, which is a really terrible Nora Ephron movie with John Travolta and Lisa Kudrow, really bad. And then he wrote Death to Smoochy, and that's basically his whole screenwriting career. So there's actually a lot of, I'd say, him shining through here that Danny DeVito has probably polished into something very functional.
There's a bit of skittishness to this, where scene is kind of, it could be its own contained joke.
And probably a bit of improvisation as well.
Yeah,
Although I'm not sure how much improvisation is coming from Edward Norton's side as much as it's coming from Danny DeVito's side. I mean, Robin Williams is someone who definitely improvised a lot in his career. I do think this film does tone, we were saying when we were watching it, it tones down his most annoying stuff until the end. He's not in it all that much, but he is, when he's in it, he's mostly doing sinister, villainous things.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get a chance to do his, oh, I'm Robin Williams, guys, come on, listen up, the shit that drives people insane.
Because he's ultimately kind of an angry, corrupt kind of person. Like
that's why I like Robin Williams the best, because I think he's a great actor, but I think he is a very annoying, babbly, bullshit nuisance man. I could have summed that up in less words.
Robin Williams would have given you a good description of what Robin Williams is like,
he would
in
have.
your opinion.
Robin Williams has to say, oh, kids, whoa, come around, blah, blah, blah. And like the worst Robin Williams movies, like Mrs. Doubtfire, are the ones where he like was just allowed to just improvise the entire movie.
Yeah.
And it's an absolute nightmare.
It's probably a luxury that's afforded to popular, successful comedians that works against. Like, I know Kevin Hart's terrible for it.
Kevin Hart's terrible for it. I mean, in terms of today's comedy movie actors, of which there are obviously a lot less, I actually don't think there's that many who are guilty of that shit. Like
Will Ferrell, maybe a bit.
Will Ferrell probably a little bit, but Will Ferrell is kind of, his improvisational style is kind of the opposite of Robin Williams. It's very slow. And Will Ferrell, when he's improvising and in Step Brothers and stuff, he just
keeps adding lines.
He keeps saying, but you're doing this, and I'm saying this, and this is the pace that Will Ferrell kind of talks at in the Adam McKay movies, which are very largely improvised. Whereas Robin Williams is just a guy who just loves the sound of his own voice, and he just wants to talk and talk and talk and talk. And, of course, now that's all part of the mythos of Robin Williams as this guy who would never stop talking in order to drown out the sound of the voices in his head. It's very sad what happened to him.
I am Robin Williams.
Yeah, it's very sad what happened to Robin Williams. But I think that the Robin Williams' experiences with depression that ultimately led to him committing suicide has been massively oversimplified by stupid people into this kind of like, the comedian who was funny because he was sad, which is like,
it's turned into the plot of Joker.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a 5-year-old's idea of a depressed person. Like,
it's
Robin Williams being funny and being, suicidal obviously are not completely disconnected. And I don't want to do a fucking psychological analysis.
It's like a line in Alanis Morissette's.
Yeah. But it's like a real stupid person's idea of irony to be like, Robin Williams, the funniest man ever, but crying on the inside. Like, it's way more complicated than that. And if you spoke to, Robin Williams' friends like Billy Crystal and whatever, they would give you a much more nuanced version of it than that. So I don't like that version of it. But anyway, Robin Williams is great. I wrote an article in 2020. I had a Robin Williams phase during COVID in 2020 where I was like, I've always, my parents hate Robin Williams, right? So I grew up being told like Robin Williams is not funny, don't watch his movies, he's annoying, we hate him. And then they kind of felt the same way at Jim Carrey, but they lost the Jim Carrey battle with me because I just got into Jim Carrey very young and then they lost. But Robin Williams, they maintained the notion that he was bad. So in 2020, I was like, well, I kind of like Robin Williams. So I'm going to start watching a bunch of Robin Williams movies I haven't seen. So I watched like 10 Robin Williams movies in like 10 days. Whatever, the shit I always do. And I wrote an article called Steve Carell is this generation's Robin Williams. He just doesn't know it yet. And my entire article, the premise, and I don't know if we touched on this on our Burt Wonderstone episode, which we already mentioned just a minute ago, is that Robin Williams and Steve Carell's careers have weirdly similar arcs. And that is that they both start off as sitcom stars in The Office and on Mork and Mindy. They proceed to become the big kids stars where huge budget movies are being pitched on their backs. You have Evan Almighty, you have Toys, you have Get Smart, you have Jumanji, you have
we including Despicable Me in here?
Well, no, then you have Aladdin and Despicable Me. Then you have the animated thing. Then you have this series of high concept comedies, which are the in Robin's case, you've got Flubber, you've got Patch Adams, Jack. Then later on in the 2000s, you've got Orvie, Old Dogs, License to Wed, and Carell does Date Night, Crazy Stupid Love, Hope Springs, Burt Wonderstone, right? Dinner for Schmucks. And then the animation happens. Williams is also in Robots, and he's in Happy Feet. And then the turn happens into, I need to turn my comedy thing into a very dark, serious thing. And in Robin Williams' case, he wins an Academy Award for Good Will Hunting. He probably, many people think, should have won for Dead Poets Society. 2, beloved dramatic performances. Yeah. Steve Carell tries this in the late 2010s. He ends up in Beautiful Boy. He ends up in Foxcatcher, which is great. That's a good performance. Oscar nominated. Big Short, fine. Vice, and then it's suddenly Welcome to Marwen, Last Flag Flying, and it's dog shit. He hasn't now made a movie in like 5 years. And
been doing the morning show,
and now he's back on TV, morning show and Space Force,
making
millions. And what did Robin Williams do when his dramatic roles all dried up? He went and did a sitcom called The Crazy Ones.
Okay,
and that was the last thing he did before he died, basically. So, at the point I wrote this article 4 years ago, Steve Carell was at that Robin Williams Crazy Ones,
just about to start TV
again. And Steve Carell hasn't budged in the last 4 years. He's stuck there, and he's doing more Despicable Me's every 2 years. The money keeps rolling in, and he keeps him on the Graham Norton show rotation. So it feels like he's not going anywhere. But if you look at his IMDb, you're like, whoa, you've only been in like 2 movies in the last 6 years, and they're both animated. I don't want to talk about Steve Carell anymore, but it's just interesting that Robin Williams' career was cut off at that point because he died so young. Steve Carell is only a couple of years younger than Robin Williams was when he died now. So it'll be interesting to see what is the comeback that Steve Carell wrangles that Robin Williams never got a chance to. And it might give us insight into what Robin Williams we missed out on because he died so young.
Well, who would get Steve Carell back in? Like, is he one of Adam McKay's guys?
Well, he's in. Yes, he is. He's one of Adam McKay's guys.
He was
Adam
in Vice and Big Short.
Big Short. So Adam McKay could give him a great role in one of his serious movies. The problem is Adam McKay's serious movies aren't very good, but I think he popped up in speaking of Edward Norton in Asteroid City very briefly, and he was great. He was great in that scene.
Oh yeah,
and that was a last minute, subbing in for Bill Murray. But I think he could stick on the Wes Anderson thing, and that could work out really well for him because he's got a good kind of dead behind the eyes thing he can do that would work in Wes Anderson. And Wes Anderson has done wonders for Edward Norton, who was definitely in a slump. And Edward Norton designs his career to have its peaks and falls. I think he will just consciously leave 6 and 7 year gaps between movies, which I think is really interesting. But I think that he really needed Moonrise Kingdom to make him seem interesting and cool again in the early 2010s, because if you look at the years prior to that, it's The Incredible Hulk and The Illusionist and Pride and Glory and really nothing that exciting. Then he pops up in Moonrise Kingdom as the scout leader, and it's a lovely performance. Just in obviously that's one of my favorite films, and he's such an important part of that because he's just adult man hanging out with little boys on a campsite couldn't be less creepy. Complete innocent, beautiful innocent performance. Edward Norton has such a great range that he could do neo-Nazi, and then on the smoochy side, it's the Moonrise Kingdom thing. It's
just a gentleness around children,
and his kind of nice, kind of gentle voice that just is kind of very good at not being too aggressive, and then his weird face that just has something very gentle about it, and it's just
again he does his respect for children on screen is very apparent.
Exactly,
it's tricky for certain people to do.
And he's great at it, and you're right, John Mulaney's actually really good at it too. Now he's not really much of an actor, but if he starts to act more, I think he'd have been great in Death To Smoochy. I mean, who else is like that? I mean, I guess Ben Stiller's pretty good with kids.
Ben Stiller's good with kids,
but Ben Stiller has spent too long trying to be relatable everyman in movies. Ben Stiller's never played a kind of a Death To Smoochy type role, which is unfortunate.
As a Smoochy type.
Yeah, exactly. It's either Zoolander. Zoolander is his version of an innocent, naive character.
But it's aimed at adults.
It's aimed at adults. Yeah. Anyway,
enough Ben Stiller and Steve Carell.
Yeah, Death To Smoochy comes out in 2002. It stars Robin Williams, first billed, Edward Norton, and Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito's name is on the poster above the title. I fully believe that's just because he directed the movie. He is not the third lead of this movie, and for the purposes of the boy party, there was no need to include him. He has a much smaller role. What's the plot of the film?
Plot of the film is Robin Williams is a children's TV host. And
Rainbow Randolph.
And he is accused of corruption for taking bribes to put children on TV.
That's it.
Which I feel like isn't a crime.
Not really
that seems like a Ryan Tuberty crime.
That's something
not
right. That's
not a legal crime.
That's on the Tuberty list,
Yeah, that's on the Tuberty list.
Yeah.
And he gets fired. He's disgruntled. The studio execs are like, we need someone new.
Yeah.
Who plays the studio execs? Is it someone we know?
Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart. Yeah.
Jon Stewart shows up as
Jon Stewart's like the assistant of the executives.
Yeah. Jon Stewart's really fun as like studio man, and then he gets.
There's a great scene of Jon Stewart like talking to the board of the
and they're all sitting
company.
like around this like raised up
platform
table.
But they do a great kind of perspective shot where the board are like sitting closer in physically than where Jon Stewart is, so it makes Jon Stewart look incredibly small.
Yes,
it's a really fun shot.
It's great. So he gets Marion Stokes, played by the wonderful, the beautiful Catherine Keener, who we never have enough nice things to say about.
No, we love Catherine Keener.
She's so great, and if you want to see Catherine Keener at her best, Death to Smoochy is the place to go. So she goes to find a new host, and that is Sheldon Mopes.
Sheldon Mopes,
otherwise known as Smoochy the Rhino, and he performs motivational songs to heroin addicts at the clinic, which is a very nice thing to do.
Oh, absolutely. And she a very noble cause.
And she says, "You'd be great on kids' TV." And he's like, "Oh, sure, no problem." And he's like this. He's got this kind of southern accent, and a good like Edward Norton idiot savant performance. It's not a million miles from his Primal Fear, guy who kills the Archbishop, like where he's like, "Sure, that sounds amazing." So he shows up to the TV.
But again, it's also quite easy to get this very wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
be really annoying, like,
really annoying.
And he's not annoying at all.
No.
She brings him, she gives him a TV slot, and then Robin Williams basically starts to try and ruin his career,
sabotage
his career, including the best scene in the movie, which is where he brings Edward Norton out to he says. He wears a disguise, and he goes, "I am bringing you to receive an award for your services to children, and we will present to you the award after you perform a few songs." Brings him out to a warehouse. Describe it.
The lights. He's brought out on stage. The spotlights are very bright, so he can't really see the crowd. He gets up, he sings a song. He's not hearing much from the crowd. He can't really see what's going on. So he's like, turn down the spotlights. Bring up the house lights. And then the lighting shifts, and he is at a Nationalist Socialist German convention.
Sure, if you want to call it that. Just swastikas everywhere,
full outfit,
and then
full military uniform.
Incredible shot of him in his rhino costume on stage as a swastika flag unfurls behind him,
low angle up at him,
and him just looking like he's about to, It's got
incredible photography flashes, type lighting on his
and
face,
just his terrified face trembling.
Yeah, it's got a real newspaper front cover quality.
And then him being arrested and thrown in jail, and they're like,
and
"You're under arrest, punk! This is an illegal meeting." It's brilliant.
Oh, it gets stormed by the police.
Yeah.
He's just like, so good. What is it? He's like, "Oh, I hope I'm dreaming."
Yes. Oh, it's great.
Fantastic.
So Robin Williams does a bunch of shit like that to him, and then the movie kind of gets a little bit derailed because the Irish mob get involved. Because Robin Williams is involved with them. So
Danny DeVito's part of the Irish mob.
Danny DeVito, and then your one Pam Ferris from Matilda. Yeah. She plays like the Irish mobster. Tommy Cotter.
Smoochy gets briefly cancelled, I believe, for attending the Nazi rally.
But then he comes back, and then there's just stuff with like the mob, and then there's a shooting attempt at Smoochy, assassination attempt at the end of the movie. But Robin Williams,
there's another very fun sabotage attempt in this where Robin Williams. There's a segment on the show which we referenced in our opening song.
Yes.
Called Cookie Time.
Yes, where they bring out a cookie arrives in studio with the 2001 opening.
Yeah,
style.
It descends in a rocket from the ceiling, and Edward Norton takes the cookie out of the bag and shows it. And Robin Williams has planted a
phallus,
a specific type of cookie.
Yes.
That Edward Norton pulls out of the bag, hoists in the air.
Everyone freezes.
Everyone freezes.
And the kids are staring at it with their mouths hanging open in shock. And he goes...
Edward Norton stands there for a good 15 to 20 seconds with his mouth open, his eyes wide open, and he is just thinking. And then he's like... All right, you can't see my face, but this is an incredible face.
Yeah. And then he goes...
It's a
rocket ship.
And everyone goes, yay!
Like, his delivery of the manic stuff in this is just so brilliant. Like, he's so good at playing just like...
The timing of this is
hysterical problem solving. Like, it's great.
Because he's aware. He knows what it is, but he's not tuned in enough to, like, dismiss it. He's like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, it's great. And then the movie...
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Robin Williams then storms the stage. And gives... Every possible name under the sun.
He goes, it's what does he call it? It's a rumple foreskin.
It's a rumple foreskin.
Yeah, he just uses every phallic term you could come up with.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's very funny.
It's great. But they all become friends in the end, and the movie ends with Robin Williams, Edward Norton, and Catherine Keener doing a like ice skating routine together, or as the credits roll. And the credits of this movie are in Comic Sans, which I'd like to note, which I think is a nice embodiment of the chaos on display here.
I quite like the poster of this.
So the main poster for this is Smoochy's costumed body lying on the ground under a spotlight with like a tarp thrown over it because he's dead, and it says "Get ready for an unexpected hit." And then there's another poster which is Robin Williams with Norton in a chokehold, which you'll see on the album art for the episode. But anyway, good marketing, fun movie. We'd be all over this if this came out today.
Oh, absolutely.
They'd never make this now, not because of woke, just because they don't make comedies for the cinema anymore.
Yeah, and this is too crass to go on streaming.
Exactly. Came out in March. Budget $50 million. Box office $8 million. This is a famous flop.
You serious? $8 million.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? $8
million.
Yeah. The role was written for Edward Norton, and it was shot in New York City. A brief shot of the North Tower of the World Trade Center can be seen, where Rainbow is dancing on a small bench in Duane Park. Danny DeVito said on the DVD commentary, "It's the only shot in the movie in which the towers are seen, and no other changes were made after the terror attacks."
I actually don't understand how this makes only $8 million.
I know, I'm trying to figure that out myself.
How does that work? Surely this would have just like made $8 million opening weekend before anyone knew what it was.
It opened in 2,000 cinemas. It was a box office bomb. It opened to 4.2 million and 8.3 overall, with negligible receipts outside the North American market. Robin Williams received a Razzie nomination for Worst Supporting Actor, but lost to Hayden Christensen in Attack of the Clones. Another good performance. People were so stupid in the early 2000s. Idiots, but just everyone was stupid. Imagine not going to see this movie. What's wrong with people?
We didn't even have the internet spreading immediate this is evil, this is
maybe the marketing for this is just a little bit too niche. Maybe the average moviegoer doesn't want to see a movie with a dead Barney on the poster. Maybe that's only for sickos like you and me and whoever our counterparts were in 2002 when I was 5. Anyway, back to my Edward Norton interaction. So Edward Norton came to Dublin the other day, and he did an event with us at my work, and I got to interact with him for a little while. Very nice, very chill guy, not intense. I feel like people might think he's super intense because he's played neo-Nazis and he's played the guy in Fight Club. No.
He has also played Smoochy, so he still has
He has played Smoochy. Yeah. I would say his real-life personality, based on the few minutes I spent talking to him, was right down the middle. He was super chill, very quiet until he was asked questions. Just kind of polite and smiley and very nice and nodding along. Very nice man. He was pretty tall. He was, but in a photo of me and him, seems to be shorter than me. So who knows?
He, according to the internet, is 6 foot.
And I am 6'1".
I always pegged you 6'1".
So it would make sense. Yeah. But I thought he felt taller than me in the space. But maybe that's just because he's so famous and handsome. Mm-hmm. But my main association with Edward Norton is that we were in school and we had film classes, and the fucking bro man who taught us film in school was like, guys, seriously, American History X, incredible performance, Edward Norton. And I spent years resenting Edward Norton for the fact that this man likes that film so much. Never watched American History X until 2 weeks ago. With that said, shortly after he said that, I did go see Birdman and think that Edward Norton was amazing in Birdman. And Edward Norton belongs to one of the all-time great Best Supporting Actor lineups of that year, which is Ruffalo in Foxcatcher, Norton in Birdman, Ethan Hawke in Boyhood, Simmons in Whiplash, and Duvall in The Judge.
Oof.
Incredible 5.
Yeah.
I would love to say that it is my goal in life to meet all 5 of those men. Mm-hmm. I feel like the clock is really ticking on Robert Duvall. He might not make it into Christmas. He might not make it to Christmas, to be honest. So, God forbid.
Could you seek him out in any way?
Right? Because I feel like the others are fine. I feel like my chances.
Ruffalo is Irish Association.
Having met Edward Norton in the last 3 days, anything is possible. Yeah. Ruffalo and Ethan Hawke are both very doable. There's Irish connections there,
and they're on an equal level of fame. Is that
to Edward Norton? Yeah. And then J.K. Simmons is sort of probably easier to meet than them, to be honest.
You could probably run into him on the street.
Yeah,
he's just New York.
If you were in New York, you'd run into him, exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, do you know what Edward Norton's biggest box office hit is?
Biggest box office hit?
Because I want to talk about his career for a few minutes, because I've been basically studying him all day for the last 3 weeks, so I have so much to say about him.
I feel like he has a kids animated thing where
nope, he does not. No kids animated.
He's
things.
not like the second guy in Rio.
No, Edward Norton does not take slop roles.
Really?
He is really the only slop movie he's in that I would define as like pure slop is The Incredible Hulk. But
even that was his project.
That was like a big he was given a lot of control on that.
Right.
Everything else on here is either good or interesting shit.
Like his Fight Club is top?
No, his top film, highest grossing of all time, with $280 million, is his role as retired Colonel Eric in The Bourne Legacy.
Oh, no.
In which he says the infamous line from the Watch podcast intro, "Stand up and walk now." I need what does he say? I need supports. I need all support staff to clear the room. Stand up and walk now. Anyway, that's not a great performance.
I'm not aware of it.
Tony Gilroy's The Bourne Legacy. He's the villain in it. Like, sure. That's a real like Denzel in Gladiator type casting where they're like, we're not sure this Jeremy Renner guy has the juice to be the star of this franchise. What if we cast a slightly more popular actor as the villain?
Yeah.
The Kingdom of Heaven, he shows up as King Baldwin and he never takes off his helmet. It's a great like bit of stupid stunt casting.
Yeah.
Red Dragon, the Lecter movie, which I watched last year. He's pretty fun in that. He plays Will Graham. He's in The Italian Job with Wahlberg and Charlize, which he I think boycotted the press tour for, which you'll find as a trend here. He's like, I hated the movie. I don't want to be part of the promotion. He is in Sausage Party. He is in The Score. He is in a couple of Wes Andersons, namely Grand Budapest, Moonrise, Asteroid City, and he is in weirdly one of his last movies is Collateral Beauty with Will Smith, in which he plays one of the pals who hires. God, I really want to watch Collateral Beauty again. Mm-hmm. I might just throw it on one of these nights. It's not the worst. Like, he plays one of Will Smith's buddies in that. That's like the only role on here where I'm like, wait, what do you take that role for? Like, what's going on?
Yeah,
I almost would have liked to ask him about it. The Illusionist, Keeping the Faith with Ben Stiller, where he plays a priest and Ben Stiller plays a rabbi.
Okay,
one we never did on Adam and Ben.
I don't think you even ever mentioned
it's from 2000. I started watching it years ago and it was really boring.
Keeping the Peace.
Keeping the Faith.
Keeping the Faith.
He's in Spike Lee's 25th Hour, which is a movie I didn't get when I watched it, but I'd like to revisit. And he, of course, directed Motherless Brooklyn, which he stars in.
Bruce Willis in that? Or
yeah, he is. Yeah, they're good friends. Death to Smoochy made slightly more money than American History X, actually.
Huh.
But tell me this. What did you think of his performance as the last movie he was in, really, up until this year, Glass Onion, as Miles Braun, the billionaire who brings Benoit Blanc to his island?
Completely fine.
Completely fine. I think he's a fun presence in the movie.
I'd be more excited now. Maybe just because I'm more aware of him.
Maybe. I feel like Ethan Hawke showing up in that movie for 2 minutes and then disappearing is really unfair because you're like, I kind of wish him and Edward Norton had swapped roles. Ethan Hawke would be a lot more fun as the evil billionaire in that movie.
I've forgotten a lot of that film.
Like, Edward Norton's a little too obvious in that role.
I do always associate the two of them together. They're like a similar person in my head.
Kind of, but Edward Norton and Ethan Hawke really could very rarely swap roles if you think about it.
No,
Edward
I
Norton
agree.
would not work in the Before movies, would not work in Boyhood, and Ethan Hawke wouldn't work in Fight Club, American History X, maybe in Birdman.
I think
he would.
in Fight Club.
You think he would? Yeah. What are your thoughts on Edward Norton in Fight Club?
Because again, I haven't seen it in many years. But
I sort of curated the event we did with him the other day, and somebody said to me after, "How come they didn't mention Fight Club?" And the only reason they didn't mention Fight Club is because I'm not interested in Fight Club, and I didn't include it in the running order.
It's probably been talked to death. Like, it's kind of his most well-known role.
He also has he had no authorial involvement really. I mean, that's an existing book adapted into a good script, directed by David Fincher. People who do not let the actors meddle with the text.
Yeah, you're going to have limited stories.
So like Edward Norton just has been involved in writing and rewriting many of his films, and Fight Club is not one of those films. So I actually don't really care about what he has to say about Fight Club, and I don't personally find Fight Club that interesting. I think it's like one of the most over discussed, least interesting films of the last 30 years. But it's not awful. But he is fun in it. It's a fun like what if a really boring white-collar white guy was actually up to crazy shit in his private life. I think Edward Norton in that role makes that movie a lot more interesting than it would be with anybody else. But maybe Ethan Hawke would do it. I don't know. Ethan Hawke's scruffiness takes away from that, you see.
So you don't think he could have been like
he's not
standard?
He's not
office guy.
No, he's not.
He doesn't think about it.
He doesn't have normie vibes. Like Ethan Hawke is good at playing musicians and writers and this kind of thing. Edward Norton is good at playing stiffs because he's got a straight posture and weird kind of bland.
That's why
silhouette.
he couldn't do the Before trilogy because he's too stiff.
He's too stiff for that. Exactly. I don't really want to see him
looking at the time and
I don't
about
think
stuff.
he could play romance that well. Is the thing.
Has he been in any rom-coms?
Keeping the faith. But there's something weirdly asexual about him, I think, which is what makes him really good in the Wes Andersons, where he is playing this innocence.
Yeah.
And we watched Grand Budapest yesterday, which you hadn't seen before, and he plays the Nazi in that again. He loves playing Nazis.
This is
but he's good in that.
The ZZ or not the SS.
Yes, sure. It's like pre-Nazis, like
pre-Nazis
in whatever.
It's like an imaginary war. It was like 1932, some made up war in the middle.
It's definitely meant to be World War II-esque.
Oh, I get it's just
but it's a little bit
in the mid-war period.
Sure.
Like, they kind of made it up.
He is really good in Grand Budapest.
He's great.
He's in it more than I remembered, and he's really fun.
Yeah.
And he's got great scenes with Ray Fiennes in that.
Does this man have a Oscar nomination?
No, it's 3 Oscar nominations.
3 Oscar
His
nominations.
first film, Primal Fear, Oscar nominated, Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah.
Good performance. Watched it the other day. Good performance. Second Oscar nomination for American History X,
Yeah.
which I'm not going to call a good performance. I mean, it's a lot of him being like, God, I fucking hate every fucking minority, blah, 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 blah. And then the second half of the movie, he becomes nice. I mean, it's acting, it's a type of acting I'm not really into. And then his third for Birdman, which he absolutely deserves.
Yeah. But that was just a stacked year.
That was a stacked year. He could have won that another year. Unfortunately, he loses to Simmons, who deserved that. And Simmons will never have another chance to win. Edward Norton will.
Yeah.
He might even get nominated this year.
If Whiplash came out now, would they put Simmons in for lead?
Would they put him in for lead? I mean,
He's kind of the defining.
He's not the lead of the film.
He's not.
He's not. If you look at the screen time, I would say that he is in that film for probably 30 minutes.
I probably overestimated.
Miles Teller is probably in it for an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah. No, I definitely.
There's no scenes of him on his own. That's a supporting role.
Yeah,
if he's never in a scene without Miles Teller, you know.
Yeah.
So Edward Norton is playing Pete Seeger in the Bob Dylan movie, A Complete Unknown, with Timothée Chalamet, which is out in a few weeks, which is fun. It's his first film in 3 years, I suppose. He doesn't look like a great performance from the trailer, but you never know. If that movie really works on old people and Oscar voters, completely plausible that he sneaks into a supporting actor slot, which would be very funny to happen.
Yeah.
Right after I,
because Timothée Chalamet is picked for
Chalamet
a
seems
lead
like
role.
definitely getting a nomination for lead. So it'd be funny if Norton sneaks into supporting as well.
It just means people will watch it. The Academy will watch it.
Yeah, I mean that's just a real Oscar voter bullshit movie. It's from the director of it's from Mangold, who did Walk the Line and Ford versus Ferrari. It's gonna hit Oscar voters' attention. Do I have anything else to say about Edward Norton? Not really. I think it's fun that he hasn't really sold out and done slop. He since Hulk, he obviously quit as the Hulk, or was let go as Hulk and replaced with Ruffalo, which I think is to the benefit of everybody, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, Ruffalo has so much integrity that he has been able to play the Hulk for the last 15 years and continue to make good stuff constantly.
Yeah.
So better for everybody. Edward Norton maybe would have struggled to have that level of output just because he seems to not want to work that much.
Yeah.
So I feel like if Edward Norton
he didn't tie himself up.
Yeah, if he was contracted to do Marvel movies, he might not have time to do anything else because he lets himself take such long breaks.
Like, is Edward Norton someone who has like a lot of money, or is he just kind of?
I think he does because he's out in Kenya doing conservation efforts. He's doing like Incredible Hulk.
He obviously has other business going on.
He has other business going on, but I mean, Incredible Hulk is the sort of thing he probably got paid like 10, 12 million for.
Yeah,
and then easy $5 million from The Bourne Legacy. And he probably back in the day he was probably getting $5 million to be in The Score and stuff. Yeah. The Illusionist. That adds up to like what? If that adds up to $30-40 million and you invest that money well, you could end up being very wealthy.
Sure.
So having a sort of a movie career where you are sort of never more than the 40th biggest star in Hollywood, but you're always in that 40 to 50 range.
Yeah.
You can end up being wealthy, successful, well-liked, and probably end up winning an Oscar.
And you know what? You'll get invited to events forever.
Yeah, and you get to meet Lucien Wadley and have a nice, short conversation with him, in which he did not mention your wordless appearance in the 2018 film Alita: Battle Angel,
despite your best efforts
as the Emperor in the arena. And we better get a sequel to that, or I'm going to ring Edward up and complain. Anything else to say about Robin Williams? Not really.
Did we discuss him much? We did.
Kind of did, because we went through his stuff. We compared him to Steve Carell.
We did.
Like, okay, guess his biggest hits.
Night at the Museum.
Correct. Number 1, 579 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aladdin's number 2. Easy one.
2.
Mrs. Doubtfire made almost $500 million.
That how does that make?
Is it like that is a
60 times more money than
cross-dressing divorced dad comedy?
60 times more money than Death to Smoochy.
Exactly. That is a really bad film.
That's a bad disparity.
Then you've got Night Museum 2, Night Museum 3, Hook, which is okay.
Do you let your kids watch Death to Smoochy?
I would let a 12-year-old watch Death to Smoochy.
Yeah. Fair enough.
That's about the age.
There's no swearing in it.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's
no sex.
There's like penis humor. There is mob stuff. Yeah, no. I'd like maybe an 11-year-old watch it.
Yeah.
Jumanji. He's in, of course. AI, in which he is a voice role. Oh, sorry. I do want to talk about very quickly one Robin Williams movie that I'm obsessed with, which is Bicentennial Man.
Oh, yes.
This is a movie where he plays a robot, and there's a poster for this movie I'm obsessed with, folks. You have to look it up, and it's like the Chinese poster or something, and it's the robot, because in the movie he only appears as the robot. He's painted silver the whole film. And it's him as the robot. But then this poster has put just regular Robin Williams in a black T-shirt standing there waving. And somebody once tweeted this poster and just captioned it, "New guy just dropped." And I thought it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. So look up that poster.
It's like Neil Martin on the flyers.
Yeah. And Bicentennial Man is like the most depressing film ever made. It's about a robot who lives so long that everybody he loves dies. And he just goes through generation after generation of his host families just dying and dying and dying. And he falls in love and the girlfriend dies and the parents die. And then he ends up just alone in the universe. Yeah. It's so sad.
It's awful.
Robin Williams. Nothing else to say about him. One other thing I want to say about Death to Smoochy is that the second it started, I go, oh, David Newman did this score. It is the most David Newman-ass score you've ever heard in your entire life. It's literally do like jaunty early 2000s comedy, kids comedy score. He did Cat in the Hat. He did loads of animated stuff. He's got a really distinct style, and I will say he is one of my favorite film composers. I think his stuff is great. I think he is almost as talented as his brother Thomas Newman, and he is someone who I interacted with once at work over email, and he was lovely. So fair play, David Newman. That is all for Death to Smoochy, I think. Will we do the box office?
We will.
Now. So, this opens when? March
29th.
2002.
2000.
All right. What does it open to? Number 7? Where's that?
Oh, 7 on the dot, yeah.
Where's that Catherine Keener bump? Like, okay, number 7. Good.
Keen for Keener.
Yeah. Oh, I'm keen for Keener.
This is the 4th highest.
Couldn't be Keener.
4th highest grossing new entrant this week. So there were 4 films released this weekend.
In fucking March.
In March,
oh,
yeah.
God. Okay, all right. Is number 1 the film Focus with Will Smith and Margot Robbie? I'm just fucking with you. Go on.
Good one.
When I think of movies in March, that's what I think of.
Yeah, that's a real.
It's the most March film ever made.
March film of all time.
Wait, let me just check it came out in March. Go ahead there. It
doesn't have to come out in March. It has the energy. It's fine.
Oh, February 27th. So close.
So close.
Go on.
First up, a director that worked with one of our actors very famously.
One of these 2 actors.
Yeah.
So he worked with Edward Norton. David Fincher. Panic Room. Come out in March. That's a big September, October movie.
Absolutely. That's a cold, my house is dark.
Yes. Oh,
but not
our
in
cold
an
house.
autumnal way.
Yeah.
Number 2, another cold movie.
The
coldest. Possibly the coldest film of all time.
Okay, interesting. It's not the shipping news.
No.
It's not the coldest film of all time.
Snow
Dogs.
Film. No.
Ice Age.
Very
good. Well done.
The coldest film of all time.
What do you think of Ice Age? I feel like we've done the Ice Age thing.
Did we discuss it last?
Ice Age is interesting.
There's a new one coming out.
Well, yes, but I want to tell you something about Ice Age. Ice Age is the biggest animated kids franchise ever, where we will never discuss any of the actors on this podcast in a million years.
It was Ray Romano and
John Leguizamo and Dennis Leary. Isn't it interesting that those movies are like billions of dollars? No.
Who shows up as the lady? Is it
Queen Latifah? No movie stars in those films. Like just TV actors.
Ray Romano.
Sitcom men. Hey, it's Ray Romano.
Ray Romano.
And then can I do John Leguizamo? The last dandelion.
The last dandelion.
Dennis Leary is kind of hard to do. Dennis Leary just kind of talks like this. Hey, I'm a what is he? A
saber-toothed tiger.
I'm a saber-toothed tiger called. What's his name? Can we remember the name of the tiger?
What are any of the characters' names?
I do not. Melman?
No.
No. But he's a mammoth.
Fuck.
Sid the Sloth.
Sid the Sloth. It's like Ernie the Mouse.
It's not fucking Ernie.
It's not Ernie.
It's Sesame Street. It's something like Melvin. It's a similar...
Mervin.
It's something similar. Okay,
Is it
I'll tell you. His name is Manny.
Oh, and Diego.
Diego.
Yeah.
Jack Black is in the
and
first
Ellie
one.
Ellie
Cedric the Entertainer. Stephen Root. Alan Tudyk. God, I don't like Ice Age. I don't care for the Age of Ice. Sub-Zero Heroes.
Coldest film in the world.
God, that movie sucks. All right.
That's fine. Whatever. I haven't watched it in many, many years.
Sorry. The poster for Ice Age says, and I quote, "From the Academy Award-winning creator of Bunny." The fuck is Bunny? Anyway.
Best short film.
Yeah, it must have been a short film. Anyway, go on.
All right.
Bunny.
The lead of this film is someone you could probably easily confuse with Dennis Leary.
Okay, interesting. Michael Keaton?
No.
Confused with Dennis Leary.
I don't really know.
Just kind of like a white guy with an attitude.
Yeah.
It's not like Andrew Dice Clay.
No, I feel like you're getting close though.
Is it a famous actor? Is it a movie star?
He's in something this year.
He's in something this year.
Yeah.
Oh.
In a very kind of minor sporting role. I feel like this is him in a
What's he in this year?
Cool young person movie.
John Lithgow?
No.
In a cool young person movie. Okay, tell me. So he's in something this year.
Yeah.
Something we've seen.
Something I've seen. That'll give it away.
This man is Dennis Quaid.
This is Dennis Quaid.
Cool young person movie.
Substance.
No, yeah. Oh, sorry. That's his cool young person movie.
I guess so. Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was
No.
Is it Yours, Mine, and Ours?
Nope.
Is it called like The Champ?
No, this is something that you could easily confuse with a Kevin Costner movie.
This was like Swing Vote.
It's baseball. The Rookie.
The Rook. That's when I said The Champ. I was thinking The Rookie.
You're close.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Boring.
Sometimes dreams come back to life. Is this like a Field of Dreams sequel?
No. I'd be very happy to never do a Dennis Quaid movie on this podcast. I think he is the most boring American movie star of the last 50 years.
Okay. Next up, we got a sequel.
2002, a sequel in March.
By a very, very well-known director.
Is this
starring a two-time Oscar winner? Yep.
Who's the two-time Oscar winner?
Never mind.
This movie is Wesley Snipes.
I just confused Mahershala Ali.
That's so funny.
I did the reverse.
Yeah. You've literally seen Wesley Snipes as Blade this year in Deadpool Wolverine.
Fucking sorry, I got it mixed up. I thought it was like Wesley Snipes was meant to play Blade in the new one. No, never mind.
So that's a Guillermo del Toro film.
Yeah, I did. This is like the other day when I did reverse Bono and someone typed SF in a chat and I was like, "What are you doing talking about San Francisco?"
Oh yeah. I've never seen that. I'll probably watch it someday.
Second build is the late Chris Christopherson.
Oh yeah,
and Ron Perlman is in there too.
Yeah, the third one has Ryan Reynolds. All
right, we'll keep going for like
one more. Yeah,
this is another new film this week, so this bet out.
Okay, Smoochy.
Bet out Smoochy, and I've never heard of it. I guess it's this is a children's film.
Okay, live action.
Yep.
Right. Big star. Animals.
Nope.
No animals. No big star.
Nope.
Children.
Kinda.
What?
This looks like these are 22-year-olds playing children.
Sounds great. Set in school?
Might be.
Or are they like out in the woods or some shit?
It's
so cold in our house, folks.
Okay, until now, Zach Gibbs' greatest challenge has been to find a way to buy a car. So it's that kind of age.
And I haven't logged this on Letterboxd, no?
No one has logged this on Letterboxd.
No one has logged this on Letterboxd. His greatest challenge has been to buy a car.
This is a Jonathan Frakes.
Dude, where's my car?
No.
Jonathan Frakes. I know the name.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tell me who's in this.
This is a... No one you know is in
No.
this.
Oh, what is it?
Okay, I'll call out the top 4.
Okay.
Jesse Bradford.
No.
Paula Garces.
No.
French Stewart.
I know French Stewart.
Michael Bain.
Michael Bine, from Aliens, yeah. Tell me what it is. I don't know what
this is. Clock Stoppers.
You have no fucking idea what that is. Clock Stopper. Oh, yeah, I've seen that poster. It looks like Thunderbirds or some shit.
Not even Spy Kids. Yeah. Spy Kids.
That looks terrible.
All right, then we
got
one
more. We got to wrap this up. The house is so cold.
This is a re-release of E.T.
Oh, well, that was disappointing.
Yeah, and then After Death to Smoochy is A Beautiful Mind.
Jesus.
There we go.
Okay.
Not going any further.
Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody.
Go watch Death to Smoochy. It's quite funny.
It's quite funny.
It's very good.
Would have been good if Edward Norton came on as a guest.
Yeah, we should have asked him.
He would have had great stories.
You should have just like
I should have been like, buddy.
You should have just bugged yourself.
Yes,
you should have worn a wire.
I have a 2-hour recording of his event, but it's not relevant to this movie.
Could we cut up clips and
pretend he was talking about Death To Smoochy?
Could we just repeat the
questions?
The questions.
Yeah, but he doesn't say anything about this film.
I know, but we can just be like, oh, hey, Ed.
Yeah.
You're in studio. We were just talking about your other film.
We'll take his voice out of context.
Primal Instinct or whatever.
Exactly. Primal Fear. Primal Instinct.
Yeah, I knew that didn't make sense.
New erotic thriller, Primal Instinct. Starring Shane Kelly and Catherine Keener. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Boy Party. We'll be back next week with another party for the boys, which is definitely what we do every week. BoyPartyPod.com. You can follow Boy Party Pod on Blue Sky and on Instagram. You can follow the show on various social media as well. I know what I'm saying.
Get home safe.
The tagline of this movie should have been "Get Smooched 2002." Thank you for tuning in. Bye bye.
Bye, big